Hi YouTube, and welcome to another video of my 2022 Specialized Allez Sprint. So I have now ridden this bike 4,100 kilometers, which is around 2,500 miles, which I think is enough to make a fair review on how the bike rides and how I personally like it. I'm gonna split this review, if you will, into three categories: sprinting, which is what I do the most, it's what I like the most, cornering, which I think is really important, especially if you are into criteriums, which is obviously kind of what this bike was designed for, and something obviously really important going down hills, which kind of can also be translated to just the agility and flexibility of the bike. And finally, climbing. So going uphill, how the bike feels, weight-wise, everything. Starting with sprinting, which is something pretty important to me and that I take into consideration when choosing a bike. Again, this bike was designed for kind of the criterium world. It's obviously a similar geometry to the Specialized SL7 that is used honestly for everything in all kinds of riding, road specifically, of course. Sprinting wise, in my opinion, this is a very sturdy bike. It doesn't respond as fast as I would like it to, but it is very consistent and I feel very safe on top of it at high speeds, pushing down high watts. So I would say that with this bike, I can't put as much power as I could, for example, on my previous Canyon Air roads, but still I feel fast and I'm able to get done what I need to get done. So I would rate the sprinting on this bike a 7 out of 10. It's not the best, it's far from the worst, and it really does do the job. Cornering on this bike is my favorite thing about this bike specifically. I feel really comfortable ripping corners at 60 kilometers, 40 miles an hour. I feel really comfortable going over potholes on crits, in corners. Honestly, this is my favorite cornering bike that I've ever ridden. Just like on the sprinting, it just feels really sturdy below you. It feels comfortable and just feels like you are on top of the bike and in control. So I will give the cornering on this bike a 10 out of 10. Finally, climbing, which is something that I'm not personally very good at, but obviously I do a lot of climbing for my training. I would say that this bike is a little heavier than most other high-end bikes, probably because it is made out of aluminum, and you can kind of feel that going uphill. Again, like in sprinting, doesn't feel as snappy when you got out of the saddle. So in my opinion, it's not the best climbing bike. It does do the job very well. I have gotten PRs on it, so it's not something that's going to make a difference, but if climbing is what you're into, I would probably get a carbon bike or an aluminum bike that is just less aerodynamic focused. That said, I would honestly rate the climbing on this bike an 8 out of 10. So if you average that out and based on my personal rankings, this bike is an 8 out of 10, which is really, really good. And it means that I have no intention on replacing this bike anytime soon. I am rating the whole bike, but of course there's way more here than just the frame set, the wheels, group set, everything else obviously has to be taken into consideration, but I have kind of used the same wheels and group set on other bikes, and the main difference has been the frame set, thus my rating. I haven't changed a lot of things since the initial video that I did on this bike. I did change the tires to tubeless as opposed to having tubes in them, but pretty much everything else is the same. I didn't really make many changes, and I won't. I'm really liking this setup. And finally, I'll just share a couple of things that I didn't share in the initial video and that a lot of people asked me for, which are the weight, which is right here, and I'll also do a free hub sound check for you guys, which is honestly noticeable. So that's it for my 2,500 mile, 4,100 kilometer review of the 2022 Specialized Allez Sprint, which I've been riding this year and will keep on riding for the next season. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and please check out my Patreon page, all links below. See ya.